Testing 1, 2, 3.
Jim, this is a mic check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me, Annette?
Yep, gotcha.
Good. I'm not getting anything from the board at all, from the room.
So I had the microphones muted in the room, and that was the reason why you weren't getting anything back.
All right,
Should be
that's
good.
fine.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning. Let's call this meeting to order. It's a little after 10:30. Just a reminder that if you have any electronic devices, to mute those or silence them so that they don't disturb the business of our meeting today. Looking at the agenda, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Commissioner Harrison for invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Ezra Scott. If you would, please join with us.
We gather together today intent on doing good work. We seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. Please give us the wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and righteousness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony, even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in our lives and joy in our tasks. Let us also remember those who are no longer with us, our servicemen and women and our emergency responders. And also please give us extra consideration for 3 individuals who've given service to the community for years and years: Merlin Hansen, Carol Stockman, and Mickey Yarborough. And also give us the right and the responsibility to have patience to listen to others. Amen. Amen.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Appreciate that. At this time, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Dell,
Here.
Curran.
Here.
Harrison,
Here.
Pinkelman. Majeri.
Here.
Martin,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Walrath. Werfel.
Here.
Yarborough. Elliott. Freeling.
Present.
Madam Chair, you have 9 present, 3 absent.
Thank you very much. We have a quorum. Looking at the next item on the agenda, I'm looking for approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of July 7th. Support.
All right, it has been moved by Commissioner Majerick, supported by Commissioner Scott. All those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, no. Minutes are approved. Madam Clerk, any communication?
Yes, you received a resolution from Mecosta County Board of Commissioners to amend the fee cap for home health providers under the Michigan No-Fault Auto Insurance Reform Act, received on July 8th. That's all.
Thank you. Everybody's received those communications here on the board, correct? Right. All right, at this time, we are at public comment for items in the consent agenda, those resolutions that appear on the agenda. If there are any comments, we welcome the public to come and share those with us at the podium, keeping in mind the time limit of 2 minutes. Are there any public comment? Let's see. Hearing none, we will move on to the consent calendar. I haven't heard from anybody of needing any of these resolutions pulled from the consent calendar. There are no added resolutions, so I will entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
All right, it has been moved by Commissioner Kern, supported by Commissioner Werfel. Is there any discussion on those items? Hearing none. This is a roll call vote.
Curran,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pinkelman. Majeri.
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Werfel. Yes. Bell,
Yes.
Freeling.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 9 yeas.
All right, all of those resolutions have been passed. Keeping in mind that there are 2 honorary resolutions that we were just considering on the consent agenda. And I have been told that those resolutions will be delivered accordingly to the family of Carol Stockman and also to Pixie as she comes to close out some of her paperwork later in the coming week. So, all right, next we're going to move on to committee reports. And we are going to start with PHSC.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Oh, I said PHSC.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
so
sorry.
sorry. Yeah.
She looked at me and she
Oh,
said,
look at you. I mixed it up.
Go right ahead, Bob.
Thank you for your consideration. Thank you, Madam Chairperson. So the committee met this morning. We approved a number of resolutions. One for the June per diems. Second, authorizing the Historical Association to sell the windows out of the old courthouse to raise some money for their activities. We reviewed and approved a complement change for the Sheriff's Department regarding staffing for the tether program. We also approved basically a quarterly list of individuals who have retired from county service. We also approved a advanced step hire. This is for information systems. We have an individual who had left us now coming back and is well qualified, and so we're moving them up in the scale. We also met with the health department staff, and you will have 3 resolutions coming to you down the road. One regarding the billing service. Second, the master agreement with the state of Michigan for funding, and then also the emerging threats funding from the state of Michigan. We also approved a disbursement request from the Health Department to the Berrien Community Foundation. This is for money going to Carol's Hope. And then we will be bringing forward to you the reinstatement of the college course reimbursement. So this was in place a number of years ago. We've reviewed data from around the state for different county governments and what they do. The intent is to bring it to you in August with, that way we could, if it's approved by the board, include costs for the next fiscal year. And so we worked through all the information that we've had previously and then talked a bit about why we're doing it and a couple of thoughts about how to go about doing it. So good discussion. And then we will have a couple things for you to consider down the road as far as a committee appointment to the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission. That would conclude our report. Gentlemen, did we cover? I cover everything.
Is there any questions for the Chair of Personnel? Hearing none, I will now yield the floor to Commissioner Kern.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. First, this morning, we had the sheriff in to see us, and everyone gets the report. You have the report. You can see the numbers. I think as the economy and the COVID starts to decline a little bit, the activity at the sheriff's department goes up. He did inform us this morning that he is over his maximum allotted number of inmates. He's got 344 and he's only allowed 341. So he works with the courts to get that number back down. He has 6 days to do it. And so he's working with the court system now to get that number down below to 341. Numbers again, Niles Courthouse transports, 49 inmates transported to the Niles Courthouse from the jail, 64 inmates returned to the jail, and 19 inmates were picked up from the Niles Law Enforcement Complex. Meals, 32,139 for the month of June. The sheriff has 3 contract cars and he provides us with calls for service numbers for those 3, which is New Buffalo Township, Niles Township, and Waterville Township. The sheriff informed us that Niles Township is considering putting a 1 mil increase on the ballot to put on an additional 3 to 4 officers. I have 7 down there now. Just to give you an idea, I think the sheriff said that their calls amount to about 1/3 of the calls, total calls that they get. Just in June alone, it was 455 calls for service. So they stay quite busy down there and they need the additional officers. So if they do pass the millage, the sheriff will provide extra police protection down there. He also gave us the statistics for Silver Beach for the month of June. They had 12 dates on which he provided protection down there. 9 citations were issued. 8 of the citations were for possession of alcoholic beverages. 1 was for a canine violation, and 1 was also an arrest for a valid 2-count felony and misdemeanor warrant. The deputies also handled 7 calls for service. These calls for service consisted of 2 assists to other agencies, 2 were for motorist assists, 1 was for found property, and 1 was for a private property accident, and 1 was for a warrant arrest. The sheriff did note that during these patrols, the deputies noticed that the vast majority of patrons were well behaved and respectful of the park staff and other patrons. And the sheriff will continue to provide protection down there throughout the summer. Lastly, he talked about the animal control, the 5 officers. By the next time he reports next month, all 5 of them will have been through their training, and he intends to bring them to our committee meeting to introduce them to us. Any questions on the sheriff's report? Okay, next we had Kevin Stack in to see us. Kevin gave us a list of projects, gave us an update. These are all available. He provided us with a paper copy, but these, you're welcome to look at that. You can see the updated as of today. If not, they're available on the website. He did say that his budget does look pretty good, and he does have reserves to cover the higher gas prices. They're already anticipating they're not gonna have enough in that budget, but he said they have enough reserves to cover it, and they should be in good shape. Any questions on that? Okay. We have a resolution that will be coming to you next time we get together, and this is for the I&M Building 500 Circle Drive in the city of Buchanan. This is the authorizing resolution to purchase that property for $200,000. Brian has done a good job of keeping us up to breast on the latest on this. So if you have any other comments you want to say, Brian, otherwise we have the resolution that will be approved next time we get together.
Yeah, just as way of background on this, this is future home of upgraded EOC and 911. Secondary benefits, we hope to build out a conference room so that should the board want to have more of a presence in South County, you can have that. And then the last part of the equation is we are maintaining space for AEP's Emergency Operations Center. If there were something to happen at DC Cook, they work side by side with Captain Adams at our EOC. So AEP will maintain a footprint at the site. And then lastly, we are in negotiations with the city of Buchanan about trying on the first floor, there's second and third floors, on the first floor, trying to put together a lease that would allow them to potentially move some of their city hall operations to that site. So still a lot of work to get through, but the thing that we're pushing right now is 100% focused on getting the title to the site so that we can proceed with construction of the 800 megahertz tower. The build out of EOC, the build out of 911 will follow as we continue our efforts to secure state funding to offset the cost of construction. So over the next year, our focus is on getting the tower and then continuing to shake the tree to see if we can find offsetting revenue to eventually move EOC 911 to the site. Jim, is there anything else you want covered?
Nope, thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. We were also provided the resolution that came through PHSC for the complement change for the prosecutor's office, which we supported. We also talked about, and we'll have for you next time, the authorizing resolution to contract with Whiteman DLR to move forward with the juvenile facility. So we will have that for introduction next week and approval the following week. And then lastly, we have a property use request. This is from the First Church of God. It is to use the parking lot at the courthouse. It is for July 31st from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., roughly 50 people. And it is to baptize new believers. And we approve that request. And that is our report.
Thank you for that report, which leaves us to finance and Commissioner Hinkleman.
It will be great. Ask Commissioner Scott to go over a couple bits that we opened.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We sent out 7 bidders for the unit ventilator for building and grounds. Only 3 responded. We took that and sent it back to building and grounds to check specifications because the bids came in well below what we had projected them to. So we did that. And the next thing we did is we did a road department bid opening for corrugated metal pipe. We sent it out to 4 bidders and 4 responded. It's a complete sheet that goes from price per pipe for 12, 15, 18, 24, 36, 48, and 60-inch pipe. And then the bands that go with them. We sent that back to the road department to check on their specifications and go with the lowest possible bid. For our policy, and if not, they have to come back to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott. Additionally, we had some board appointments to go over as well. One was not a vacancy, but one we had a health issue with. Someone in forward planning is going through some treatment. And so that individual sits on 2 boards and was requesting a leave of absence, and we have no problem with that. So that was passed. We also have 2 vacancies on economic development, and there are some applications for those. We have 3 applications for those, but a couple things with the vacancies there, and I guess there's some other vacancies. We can combine some applications possibly to preview all of those for those seats, to try to provide as much opportunity as we can for people. And so we decided to wait a week on doing anything with that. Mamie will perhaps like to have input on that too, if she'll be back next week. We had 3 waiver requests and approved those 3 waiver requests. And then we actually had added one that came from Motor Pool for a pickup truck. And because of the situation that vehicles are in at this point in time, we have an opportunity to buy a pickup truck that is still 2022 at the correct price, but it requires swift and almost immediate action. And so we approved that. We paid the weekly bills and the road payables, and we had some discussion with our administrator, some follow-up conversation on the juvenile center. And then in addition to that, there'll be a resolution coming next week for the print shop to increase fees to compensate for the added costs that they're going through at this point in time. Ezra, did I miss anything?
No, but it should be noted that the finance committee, you know, they always save the best for last on reports, and that's all I have to say about that.
And as far as the conversation on the juvenile center, I do have we I think generated a question just on, Brian, that you could probably answer. The resolution next week that we'll see on that, is that resolution to select? What exactly is that resolution? Because we haven't seen wording. What is that? What is going to happen?
Yeah, so the resolution would be to award a contract with Whiteman/DLR and the amount of, I don't want to say the amount off the top of my head. I don't know it.
Functionally, I just want to know what it's for. So it's to
award the contract for service with Whiteman/DLR for the site planning of the new juvenile center. And it would come from admin. It would then go to the full board for consideration.
All right. So the question that was generated by finance was just, this isn't something that we've put out for bid.
We sought quotes. We have quotes from 3 different vendors. Those have been shared with admin. I'll kick those over to finance so that you can see the quotes that were received. We had 2 local and then 1 firm out of the Denver area that provided a quote for service.
Okay. Ezra, did that answer all the questions that you had?
Yes, and that was the issue I think that we had discussed is that finance, if you're asking the board to approve a resolution to enter into a contract with a particular company and it hasn't gone through finance yet because we're the ones that are in charge of bid openings and things like that. That's all. It was just a question because we don't want to violate our own policies. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's been a discussion point through the admin committee is, did we have other proposals? And the answer is yes. Court staff, buildings, ground staff, myself met with Avonmarsh, met with Whiteman, and then lastly, we met via Zoom with the firm that was through the court were able to solicit that proposal. Yes, thank you. Through NACO,
Yeah.
the court had a separate proposal. I'll compile those. I'll send them to finance later today.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So that completes our committee report.
Thank you for that report and appreciate you following up on that. Another item that we'll need to address as the full board is that exception to our board position that we have, as John mentioned, we have a member on 2 sitting committees that we have that we've appointed through this Board of Commission to serve on these other committees. And it does take an action of the board of a majority vote in order for us to approve that exception and that stay
Mhm.
based on what I'm reading in our policy. Annette, can you tell me yay or nay if I'm wrong?
I can't tell you that.
The way that I read it is that if there's any modification to comply with any special requirements or needs, that the Board of Commissioners by a majority vote must approve any exception
Are you talking about with the,
or the
Leave of absence?
medical leave of absence.
so I was going by the affirmation of understanding
Okay,
that they sign.
okay.
And in that is where it identified that I could go to
To the parent committee?
and yes, and
Okay.
have that parent committee allow for that. leave of absence.
Exception,
Which we did by consent.
correct.
Correct.
Right.
All right. As long as we've
I-
got all of that notified and Thaddeus, do you have anything that?
I have not looked at this, but I
Yeah.
can take a look and make sure.
Okay. I would say that as long as the parent committee, and I sat in on that, there was consensus to approve that leave and it complies with that affidavit, then I think we're good unless we hear other from corporate counsel. Right,
Madam
so
Chair,
no action will be
I have
needed.
just a point question here. It has to do with admit and sending around a list of all the road projects and that. I would like to make a request myself. But when Jason Latham was with us as the road director, we would get an updated list of what roads were being done, such as pavement or work or culvert work or grinding gravel, and I would like to know about what's going on in my district. So that when people call that are irate and want me to come over and clean their home because of the dust, at least I know who to call to help me come and clean it.
Ryan, I believe that's
Right.
in your update,
So,
isn't it? The list
yeah.
of
It is.
road projects is in
It
the
is.
update.
Thank you.
All right, are there any other questions for finance? No, we're good. All right, moving on to commissioner reports. Start with you, John.
Report. No report.
So there's an expungement event going on at Michigan Works this weekend from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And also the health department is one of the sponsors for this event for dads in the park, which is happening June 29th. And I can get you more info on that as it develops.
No report.
I have something this week. First of all, I want to thank Brian for handling the situation that we had over at the parking lot at the courthouse. And I think we need to remind the public and people who want to have events that there is a procedure to go through to be able to use the courthouse parking lot. We had already granted the Krasel Art Fair to use the parking lot, and another group without any permission decided to show up and take over a large space of that parking lot till about noon. They didn't follow any procedure. They just gave the excuse that we could come here and do whatever we want, and invoked a few names that, they knew in county government. So once again, we need to make sure that any group or anything that wants to use county parking lots or county facilities or anything like that, they have to come to the county and get permission from the committees to be able to do that and make sure it doesn't conflict with any other event that's going on. That's it.
I have no report, but Brownfield has been canceled today.
Madam Chair, the only thing is I attended the County Sewage and Septic Appeals Board hearing with our county corporate counsel. And I just wanted to let everybody know that whoever takes over as a county commissioner for me on that board, just realize that that is a very important board because we're actually keeping a lot of the water and the groundwater and things like that safe with the designs of the systems that are being approved. And we're facilitating the issue where people have bought a piece of property and because of no sewage, they're kind of done with building anything on that piece of property and they're paying taxes on it. And that's when they bring it to us, the problem solvers, and we go through it and make it so that they can get the best use out of it. But for the county, we're really cutting down on the E. coli and on the environmental stuff. And I just wanted everybody to know that.
Thank you very much for all of the work you do on the committees on the outside from this board. Just real briefly, I want to just give an update on the Planning Commission for Berrien County. We are working through the master plan. We had a meeting on Tuesday. That master plan is in the draft state. And so once I get a hard edited version to be able to forward on to the rest of the board here for input or discussion, I will do so. And then the only other thing that I attended was the Housing Resource Network. And this is a roundtable of different organizations and agencies as it relates to vulnerable populations for housing. We are all awake now, no worries. And they kind of go through all of the different resources that we have within Berrien County. There is a report that we received that I've asked to get a hard copy of, and then I'll have Brian distribute it to the full board for the HARA as it relates to SARA funding, because we're just finishing up all of that. And the SARA funding was through the CARES Act. And there were a number of homes that were helped through that funding. The county received, well, those organizations in the HARA received at least $2 million in the first cycle and another large chunk in the second cycle. So that is just my update that I wanted to give as a commissioner. So, Mr. Administrator, I will turn it over to you.
No comment.
No comment. All right. So now we are at the point in our agenda for general public comments. Anything under the sun, under 2 minutes or less.
Michael Haskins, Pipestone Township. Today you have approved a resolution for a congestion mitigation program. This is on Napier. The congestion you must be talking about is the corset that's been placed on Napier. Remove the corset, eliminate the road diet, restore it to its appropriate 4 lanes of vehicle traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
Pelser, Hager Township. I'd like to make a couple of comments about the new person you hired for the road department. I hope you give him enough authority so that anybody gets out of line, he's got authority to kick a butt or whatever. No, don't let it go till the testers and does this and that. Till it's almost too far gone. And what you guys do is you take it over and you form a different department. That's not right either. So somebody that's like a director should have the authority. Like when I was teaching, I screw up there, they'll write me up. Put it in my file. But after a while, you file a grievance, get it settled. They should have that same authority here. Now, the other thing is, where it says general public comments, I noticed there's something missing here. Where's that 2-minute time limit that I have to talk up here? You guys took that out, right? So I can talk for 2 minutes and 10 seconds without that buzzer going off? I'm glad it's gone, okay? Now, St. Joe, you remember they had somebody talking for 20 minutes and they're talking about putting a time limit on those people. That's how stupid laws are made. Some idiot gets out of line, like somebody with a gun or something. Right away, we want to ban all guns. Whatever happened to sunset laws? Remember the old days? They come up with a bill or law. Okay, we'll look at it again after 2 years. Put a time limit on it. 1 year, 2 years, don't put it on there forever. But after 2 years, evaluate it and see if it's still good. If it is, then you can make it permanent. Think about that. Sunset laws, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Tony, you're only other public, all right.
You guys, Tony Bednar, so you guys just recently hired a new road director. That's gonna be what, 5 years now? Problem with this hire. Did he meet all the requirements that you were looking for? Did he meet any of the requirements that you were looking for? Because the fact that you had a whole list of, you gotta be this, you gotta be that, you gotta be this, you know. This guy's been in the service. He wasn't an engineer. He's not a road engineer. He's got no road experience. Excuse me, this is a road department. You ran into that with Jason. He worked for MDOT. Oh, hey, he's gonna be a great, road department engineer, a road department manager. He turned out to be nothing. Now you hire somebody that's been in the Army, that's got absolutely no road experience. And I'd like to see the quote unquote qualifications that you had to have to get that position miraculously disappeared. It took 6 months to have that posted. And then within a few days of hearing that this guy's been hired, that's gone too. So nobody knows really what this is all about. It looks like you guys, oh, we got a friend of a friend that we're gonna grab him, we're gonna stick him in there. I hope it doesn't come back to bite you in the butt again. That'll be 6 times in 6 years.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any others? I didn't see you sitting back behind Jim. I know you're here with the media, but all right, perfect. All right, so we're finished up with public comments. Other business. Is there any other business to come before the board? No, I do have one. We would be remiss if we didn't stop to recognize the significant anniversary that just passed on July 11th. There are a number of employees and families that were impacted greatly from Ron and Joe's passing and the event that happened at the courthouse on that date. And so I just wanted to pause, take a moment to recognize the significance of that date and acknowledge it in our minutes. So that being said, is there any other business? Yes, Bob.
There is an important event tomorrow, the birthday of Annette Christie. And so I would like to offer her happy birthday.
Happy
23rd.
23rd, yes. Happy birthday. I'm so glad that you brought that to our attention. It's always good to thoroughly acknowledge Annette. She makes things seem so effortless in our Thursday morning meeting. So it is a great day to celebrate the day of your birth. So, all right, with that having been said, we do have another item here on the agenda before we go into closed session. Announcements, reminders. Are there any besides the announcement of Annette's birthday? No. All right, then we are going to be heading into closed session as per the item on the agenda for MCL 15.268E to consult with attorney regarding trial and settlement strategy in connection with specific pending litigation, which is acknowledged here in the agenda. There could potentially be action taken after this closed session. So I just want to make that announcement. We will come back into open session before we adjourn. But at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session. Please. So moved by Commissioner Warfel, supported by Commissioner Scott. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we need to do that by roll call.
Yes. Harrison,
Yes.
Hinkleman, Majerick.
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Werfel,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.